What's up guys, it's Sam, the Get It Done Girl. Welcome back to another video. In today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you how easy it is to start an Amazon KDP business by publishing no content books on Rapid. Let's get into it, shall we? To create no content books fast, it's important to have different templates in place. I'm going to use a 3-step process to create a low content template and then show you how to manipulate this template to create notebooks or journals in various different sizes. I'm also going to share how easy it is to create a cover for your no content books, but this will be done in 3 different videos, part 1, 2, and 3. Now, as for the 3-step process I use, this involves setting up my page, creating a master page or pages, and then applying this master page to the entire book to ensure that we have a complete journal or template to publish on KDP. Now, let's look at how I set up my page for publishing. The tool I use to set up my page is KDP Print File Setup Calculator. Now, I'm not quite sure where I downloaded this, but it is somewhere or should be somewhere on Amazon's official website, since I think that's where I got it from. Now, this calculator is easy to use. All you need to do is to identify the paper choice you'll be using, whether black ink with white paper or white paper with colored ink. You'd also need the trim size, which is the size of your book, and the number of pages you'll be using. The size of my book will be a 6 by 9 inches book, and my journal or notebook will contain 120 pages. I will also be printing on white paper with black ink. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug in this information so that it will generate what I will need to allot for my bleed and also my new page size. 6 by 9. And this is 120 pages. Now, because my book will contain bleed, I am going to select the option that says manuscript with bleed. Now, if you're creating a journal or a low content book with no bleed, this is the option you need to create. But my journal is going to be a lined one and the pages will run across the page. So I'm going to select this choice. Now, this is the information the tool spat out for me. Now, what I'm going to do is to take note of my height or length and the width of my book. I'm also going to look at the bleed that is allocated. So the new size of my book is 9.25. And as you've noted before, it was a 9 before it turned into 9.25. Now, the width is 6.125. Before it was just 6 inches. Now, if you look at the bleed section, my bleed is now 0.25 and my margin is 0.25. But this is not important since I will be using or running the lines across my page. So what I'm going to do now is to go over to Affinity Publisher, since that is a tool we will be using. And I'm going to plug this information into my tool to start creating my book. So for Publisher, I'm going to go ahead and create a new document. And the page width is 6.125. The height is 9.25. And the master page is set by default, and I'm going to go ahead and deselect facing pages. For the margins, you can leave this as is because it is not necessary. As I've stated before, I'm going to change the bleed to 0.125, and then I'm going to hit create. So this is the blank screen you will get when you create a new page. Now what I'm going to do is to locate the master page, which is always on the left in the page panel option, but it is above the normal pages. So this is the option you need to select to really access the master page. So I'm now working with Master A, as you can see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate my baseline grid because I will need this to calculate the space between my lines. So I'm going to go ahead and select View, Show Baseline Grid. I'm also going to show my bleed, and I'm going to head back to the View tab and then select Baseline Grid Manager. And this will allow me to manipulate how the space or spacing appears on the page. So I'm going to select Use Baseline Grid, and as you can see, the page has been pre-populated. Now the grid spacing is already set to 14 pt. This is not what I need since I am going to be working with the college ruled page size. Now, if you want to work with something that you create, that is fine, but I'm going to create a journal with the college ruled pages for this demonstration, and the size is going to be 20.2464. Now, this is a standard size when you're creating a college ruled line page journal. I'm going to change the color to pink, and then I'm going to close the page. Now, this is what my journal, the grids look like on my page, and the pink lines simply represent where you will draw your page or draw your lines for this journal. To start creating my lines, I am going to locate the pen tool, which is right here. And I am just going to drag this across the screen. And as you can see, it is outside the bleed. So let's remove the base grids to see what my line looks like. Now this is my first line, and the page is zoomed to 100%. Now this is too thin, so what I'm going to do is go to the stroke section, and I'm going to increase the stroke size. Now this is set to 0.1. I'm also going to change the color of this line since I prefer to work with something that is gray. So what I'm going to do is to select the stroke option, and I'm going to select swatches and look at all the gray options I have. Now I'm going to choose black at 80% to see what that looks like. %80 black. Probably going to change this to another shade of gray. Let's try 70%. 70%. Let's hope I'm affecting the right option. 70%. This is what it looks like at 70%. Now what I'm going to do is to reactivate my baseline grid so that I can populate this page with the lines. To do this, I am going to use a super function, well, that's what I call it, a super function that Affinity Publisher has, where you can copy an object in the same with the same alignment. Now it's better to show than to tell. So let's do this. Simply click on the line and press Ctrl plus J. So Ctrl plus J. Now, as you can see, a second line has been created. All you have to do is to drag it down. So I have 2 lines on my page, and if you should hit Ctrl J again, another one has been created. Now continue selecting or pressing Ctrl J. So as you can see, the lines are now creating, going down on my page. I'm just going to continue doing this until the page is filled. And there you have it. These are all my lines. I'm going to go ahead now and remove the baseline grid. So this is what my page looks like. This is what my page looks like, and as you can see, it is okay. I'm quite fine with it this way. Now, if you want to remove this one to ensure that it has a bit more space at the top, you can go ahead and do so by removing this line. So this is what it looks like when that is done. I'm also going to add another line at the end of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. There you have it. So this is what it looks like. So my master page has been created. Now what I'm going to do is to move on to the third step, which is to apply the master page to the entire document. So as you can see, the master has already been applied to page 1. Let's look at what that looks like. There it is. So what I'm going to do is to create 119 more pages, since my book will contain 120 pages. Now to do this, simply right click on your mouse and select Add Pages. And this is the dialog box that you should see. Now the number of pages you need to add is 119, depending on the size of your book, of course. I'm then going to ensure that it is set to master page A, which is already there, and it is to be added whether before or after. It really does not matter. So I'm just going to hit OK. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and export this as a PDF file to show you what it will look like. And it is set to 300. If you want a higher DPI, you could go to 400, but typically 300 is the ideal for Amazon KDP. I'm also going to include bleed since our page has a bleed. Let's select the export option, and I'm also going to save this on my desktop. Save. My file should have already been generated, so I'm just going to go on my desktop and I'm going to locate it. Here it is. Let's open it to see what it looks like. Let's zoom at 100% to see if we need to make any changes. So this is what it looks like at 100%. Now, if you're not comfortable with the brightness of the lines, you can always go ahead and dumb it down, or you could change the stroke size to something less. But this is what the journal is going to be for this interior. I'm going to leave it as is. Now, guys, this is part 1 of part 3. If you have learned how to create a journal in Affinity Publisher, please like this video, please subscribe, and please share so that others can benefit from the content. See you in the next video, which is going to be part 2 on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.